This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right. We're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
The story you're about to enjoy was inspired by Joseph and Ashley. Thank you so much for your amazing idea. As April went along, Levi and Ivy's school began to talk more and more about Earth Day. They talked about the importance of taking care of the earth, recycling, not wasting water and energy, and not littering. Levi and Ivy learned about how they could help protect the earth by taking action in their own neighborhood. They liked recycling, always turned off the water while brushing their teeth, and tried their best to remember to turn off the lights when they left a room. But one thing they definitely needed to work on was not littering. Levi, is this your granola bar wrapper on the deck? Called Levi's mom, holding it up the wrapper and walking into the house. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Mom, answered Levi. I was going to go back out and get that. Why not just bring it in with you in the first place? Then you wouldn't have to remember to go back out and throw it away properly, suggested Levi's mom. Good idea, said Levi with a smile as he watched his mom throw the granola bar wrapper in the trash. I mean it, Levi. You and Ivy both need to watch out for your littering, said Levi's mom as Ivy walked into the kitchen. Why am I in trouble? I wasn't even there, laughed Ivy as she sat down at the table. Levi and Ivy's mom explained to her daughter what had just happened and why she was talking about her too. Earlier that morning, Ivy's mom found an empty plastic snack bag outside, and she knew, by the type of snack that it was, exactly who left it outside. Yes, that was my snack bag, but it was a healthy snack. Aren't you at least happy that I was eating something good for me? Asked Ivy with a cute smile. Yes, that's great, but this littering problem is serious, said Ivy's mom, motioning for both her kids to take a seat at the kitchen table. They looked a bit annoyed and didn't realize what the big deal was with a few little pieces of trash outside in their backyard. It was just one little granola wrapper and one little snack bag, said Levi. We'll try to do better next time. You may think that your granola bar wrapper or your snack bag couldn't possibly do anything bad for the planet, but it all adds up. Just think about it. If everyone in our neighborhood dropped one piece of litter outside every day, said Levi and Ivy's mom, it wouldn't take long at all for it to become a big deal. Even though Levi and Ivy knew what their mom was saying was very important, they still didn't really think that a few pieces of litter was going to make a huge difference to the environment. However, they told her they were sorry and that they would try their best to stop littering around the house and at school. She thanked them both, and off they went to start their day at school, where they both had quite the reputation for not putting their trash in the garbage. At school that day, everyone was busy preparing for their big Earth Day event that was happening at the end of the week. That day, every student was asked to write down something they could do to care for the planet. Levi and Ivy both wrote down that they wouldn't litter, which made all their friends laugh. Sorry to laugh, Levi and Ivy, but you two never pick up your trash at snack time, said their friend Joseph. Levi and Ivy looked shocked, but knew their friend was right. Remember that one time I gave you my last few potato chips at the park and you threw the bag on the ground when you were done? Joseph asked Levi. That's not fair. I tried to toss it into the trash can, but I just missed it, said Levi. But you just left it on the ground after that, Joseph reminded him. You should have to pick it up and throw it away properly. And Ivy, every time you have gum, you drop the wrapper on the ground, said their friend Ashley. That's not true. Sometimes I make gum wrapper rings, Ivy responded. But those always fall off when we're playing and you have to pick them up, replied Ashley. Levi and Ivy didn't know what to say, and since they were feeling a bit embarrassed, they came up with an excuse about having something else to do and walked away to the other side of the auditorium. So I guess we're just a couple of litter bugs, said Levi, sounding upset. Like they've never littered before? Said Ivy in a gruff voice as she folded her arm and leaned against the wall. At that moment, Levi and Ivy could have seen the comments that their friends made as helpful, bringing it to their attention that they do litter a lot and it's a habit they should stop. But instead, they got upset by what they heard because they knew littering was wrong and it made them feel embarrassed. The next day was Tuesday, and Earth Day activities continued at school. That day, the focus was on creating a new club run by students that would carry the spirit and teachings of Earth Day all year long. It would be called Planet Patrol. The club would be made up of a group of students that would help run Earth-friendly activities throughout the school year. And it was obvious to everyone that the first two kids to sign up would be Joseph and Ashley. They were always trying to help others learn about things they could do in their everyday lives to make a positive difference for our planet. First name on the sign-up sheet. Yes! Called out Joseph, handing the pen to Ashley. That's because you told me they weren't putting the sign-up sheet out until lunchtime, replied Ashley, taking the pen and signing her name bigger than Joseph's. But no matter who signed up first, Joseph and Ashley were just happy to have a club in school where they could help it be Earth Day every day. As the other students signed up that morning, Levi and Ivy walked to the cafeteria where the Planet Patrol sign-up sheet was sitting on a table. The pen was passed around from friend to friend, but none of the kids passed the pen to Levi and Ivy. They weren't being mean, they just all really thought that Levi and Ivy wouldn't be interested in becoming part of the Planet Patrol. And they were right. Still feeling a bit bad about their friends thinking they were litter bugs, Levi and Ivy didn't say anything and continued to their classrooms, and their friends noticed. Later that day at recess, Joseph and Ashley felt bad that they had upset Levi and Ivy. They tried to talk to them, but it didn't go great. I wanted to see if you'd like to join the new Planet Patrol Club, asked Joseph as he climbed the playground walk wall next to Levi. You could be a Planet Patroller with me. It would be fun, added Ashley as she played hopscotch next to Ivy. But you told us we were just a couple litter bugs, so why would you want us in your club? Asked Levi, not really interested in an answer. I think we're all set. You know, one little potato chip bag or gum wrapper ring isn't going to make a big difference anyways. Levi was speaking out of frustration and knew what he was saying wasn't true. But he just didn't know how to deal with the way he was feeling. So instead of talking it out, he decided to just leave the situation. And Ivy did the same. Everyone has the power to make a difference, said Joseph, calling after Levi and Ivy. If you stop littering, that could make other people stop littering too, because you're setting a good example. But if you keep littering, other people could see that, think it's okay, and do it too, added Ashley. Then we'd have a big problem on our hands. We all have the opportunity to lead by example. We just have to make sure that our example is a good one. Levi and Ivy looked at each other, but kept walking. They heard what their friend said, but still couldn't help but feel upset about being called out for littering. They didn't know how to work through the situation, so they walked away from it, which meant there was still a problem that needed a solution. I think the first job of Planet Patrol should be to help Levi and Ivy see how damaging litter can be, said Joseph. But how? Asked Ashley. We'll just need to keep our eyes open for any opportunity to help. When they got home that day, Levi and Ivy looked a bit down, and their parents asked what happened at school. They told them all about Planet Patrol and how their friends asked them to join. That sounds fun. Why would that make you upset? Asked Levi and Ivy's dad. Because they basically called us litter bugs yesterday, said Ivy. We're kind of upset with them. But if you are litter bugs, need help remembering to throw away your trash properly, joining Planet Patrol could be very helpful, explained their mom. After all, I did find some more wrappers and bags blowing around in the backyard today. Levi and Ivy sighed deeply, looking frustrated. What's the big deal? Said Ivy. It's just our backyard, and we would have picked them up eventually. You keep saying that, but I keep picking up your trash, replied Ivy's mom. I don't think you're going to see how big of a problem littering can be until it affects you personally, said their dad. It's an easy habit to break, and I think your friends are just trying to help you. And even though you both know your friends are right, you're feeling embarrassed and frustrated with them because they brought it to your attention and it made you feel bad, said Levi and Ivy's mom. Levi and Ivy completely agreed with their parents, but stayed quiet. It may take time, but we can help too, said Levi and Ivy's dad. My suggestion is realizing that you want to do better than doing better. Not littering will be great for the planet, and it'll make you feel great too. I agree with your dad. I know that both of you understand that it's the right thing to do, so added Levi and Ivy's mom. If you focus on not littering rather than focusing on being upset at your friends, I think you'll solve this problem very quickly. Levi and Ivy, still a bit frustrated, nodded their heads, hugged their parents, and walked upstairs to bed. Then, as they both drifted off to sleep, they couldn't help but replay the last 2 days in their heads. And as they felt themselves falling into a dream, something truly extraordinary happened. Levi's eyes popped open wide. He felt as if he had only been asleep for a few seconds. Thinking there was no way it could be morning, he stumbled over to a window and pushed back its curtains. Bright sunlight streamed into Levi's room, and he quickly had to cover his eyes. The light was so bright that he couldn't see out the window. Levi was now instantly awake, feeling like he couldn't possibly go back to sleep. He wandered into Ivy's room only to find her wide awake as well. "What's going on?" asked Levi. "It can't be morning already," added Ivy. They were both pretty confused as they walked over to Ivy's window to get a look outside. They were hoping to figure out exactly what was going on, but when they finally saw what was waiting for them, the only thing they knew for sure was that it would be definitely an unforgettable day. As Ivy pulled back the curtains that covered her window, what she and her brother saw left them speechless. "What are we looking at?" asked Levi with a stunned look on his face. "I have no idea," said Ivy, "but this is terrible." Ivy and her brother continued to stare out her window at a pile after pile after pile of trash. As far as they could see, there were chip bags, candy wrappers, water bottles, napkins, plastic bags, fast food containers, and broken toys. "What happened while we were asleep?" asked Ivy. Levi just shook his head, unable to understand what he was looking at. They called for their parents and heard footsteps in the hallway. However, as they turned around to ask if their parents had seen the outside yet, they got a big surprise because it wasn't their parents at all. Instead, they found themselves face to face with Joseph and Ashley. They were wearing Planet Patrol shirts and they both looked really sad. "Joseph? Ashley? What are you two doing here?" asked Levi, walking toward his friends. "We came to talk with you about what's been going on out there," said Joseph. "We need your help." Unlike before, when Joseph and Ashley asked them to help, Levi and Ivy didn't feel like they could say no or walk away from the situation. What they saw outside needed their attention. "How can we help?" asked Ivy and Levi together. "First off, we need everyone to stop littering. It's totally out of control," replied Ashley. "Then we need to clean up what's out there," said Joseph. "But it's going to take a lot of help." "Wait a minute, are you telling me that all those piles of trash are because everyone in the neighborhood has been throwing their garbage wherever they want to?" Levi asked, sounding shocked. "Yes, that's exactly what happened," answered Joseph. "When you and Ivy said littering wasn't a big deal, other kids heard you and started littering too. Unfortunately, they followed your example. Then before we all knew it, more and more people started littering because they thought that since the neighborhood was already a mess, what's one more piece of trash?" said Ashley. "We tried to help as much as we could, but now it's out of control and too big of a problem for just the Planet Patrol to deal with," said Joseph, looking discouraged. "Wow, I didn't think it could ever get this bad," whispered Ivy to her brother. "We need to help, now." Levi nodded his head and told Joseph and Ashley they'd help however they could. Levi and Ivy ran off to get dressed, but Joseph and Ashley stopped them. "If you're going to help us," Ashley began, "and promise not to litter anymore," added Joseph, "then you're going to need these," said Ashley, holding up a Planet Patrol shirt for each of her friends. "We promise," exclaimed Ivy and Levi. "We should have done this way sooner," said Levi. "We're sorry," added Ivy. They both grabbed their shirts ready to take on the tremendous, terrible trash towers outside. Armed with as many garbage bags as they had in the house, the 4 Planet Patrollers headed out the front door and knee-deep into old juice boxes, ice cream cups, and paper plates. Levi ran to his garage to grab some shovels and gloves, hoping that they would help them clear the trash away faster. But the more they scooped up trash, the more the pile seemed to grow. And once they looked around, they saw why. While they were cleaning, everyone else in the neighborhood was going about their day, littering and adding more trash all around. "We can't clean up after these litter bugs," said Levi. "We have to teach them not to litter in the first place," added Ivy. Then, once they realized what a good thing they were doing for the planet, then they can all share the task of cleaning up our neighborhood together, exclaimed Levi. "You've got it now," said Joseph with a huge smile. "That's what we're trying to do for you two," said Ashley. "We didn't mean to embarrass you that day at school, but we also couldn't just let you keep littering. Then we thought working together on Planet Patrol would be the solution because we'd all be doing it together," said Joseph. "That's why we asked you to join." "That's all in the past, and we're sorry for the way we treated you," said Levi. "And our planet," said Ivy, "is never too late to do the right thing. So let's do it." Then the Planet Patrollers each put on some gloves, grabbed a shovel, and set out clear path through the trash. That was until they heard something coming from the backyard. "That sounds like Mom and Dad," said Levi to his sister. So they all ran to the backyard to ask if they would help too. But when they got back there, it was clear that cleaning up the trash was not on their parents' to-do list that particular day. Levi and Ivy were shocked to see their parents sitting on the deck surrounded by granola bar wrappers and snack bags. "Hi, kiddos. Why do you look so surprised?" asked Levi and Ivy's mom. "Just look at our backyard," said Ivy. "It's a mess." "Well, you two never had a problem with it before," said Levi and Ivy's dad. "In fact, most of this trash is from you two." "Yep. One day we just got tired of telling you to stop littering, and we started to do it too," said Levi and Ivy's mom. "We don't like it, but it's just what we're used to now, and it seems too big of a problem to clean it up ourselves." Levi and Ivy couldn't believe what they had started. "Mom and Dad, you're right. You were right about everything. Just like Joseph and Ashley, one little piece of trash is one piece too many," said Levi. "Since this mess is too big to clean up alone, we're going to do it together. All of us and the rest of the neighborhood," added Ivy. "We need to care for our planet, and right now we definitely aren't doing that. Just look around. Even the animals that call our neighborhood home, they don't look happy at all." And as they looked around, they saw squirrels, chipmunks, and bunnies crawling and hopping through trash with frowns on their faces. Some of them were getting caught up and struggling to go on their way. That made everyone sad, as they saw how their littering was affecting the natural world around them. Levi and Ivy's parents each grabbed some gloves, more garbage bags, and set out with Planet Patrol to gather everyone in their neighborhood for a very important talk. Once all their neighbors had stepped out of their houses and made their way to the street, Joseph, Ashley, Levi, and Ivy stood on a nearby bench to speak to everyone. They told them all about the negative effects that littering has on the environment. "Littering may seem like no big deal until it gets to this level," Joseph began. "Just look around. Our neighborhood used to be so beautiful, filled with kids playing outside, riding their bikes, and families gardening and enjoying nature. Now we can't even walk to the house because of how bad it's gotten," continued Ashley. "And it's all because we thought our little piece of litter wouldn't make that big of a difference." "Well, it does make a difference. Litter in any amount can pollute our soil, water, and air," said Levi. "And look around at how unhappy all the animals are that live in our neighborhood," added Ivy. "Littering can lead to habitat destruction and harm all of this wonderful wildlife." It was the first time the entire neighborhood had come together and heard this message. They immediately looked around at each other, realizing that none of them wanted to continue to see their neighborhood like this. They knew they'd all be happier if things were back to the way they used to be, and now they had the entire neighborhood's support. Everyone felt that it was a task they could take on and complete. So they all grabbed gloves, shovels, and garbage bags and got to work. Some shoveled up the trash while others sorted recycling. And before they knew it, after working all day long, the neighborhood was once again litter-free and beautiful. They could not have been happier at the wonderful work they did. Planet Patrol thanked their neighbors for all they did, as everyone headed home to get a well-deserved rest. "Thank you so much for not giving up on us," said Levi to Joseph and Ashley. "Yeah, thank you for helping us clean up the neighborhood and see how bad littering can be if you don't take it seriously," added Ivy. "It was so much fun working with both of you today," said Joseph. "And now that you're Planet Patrollers, we can all continue to keep an eye on our neighborhood and our planet to make sure we treat it with respect and keep it clean for all of us to enjoy," said Ashley. Then she and Joseph yawned and smiled at her friends. With a few high fives and a wave, they turned to leave, walking home on a clean, litter-free sidewalk as Levi and Ivy walked into their house. Once inside, Levi and Ivy cleaned up, put on their pajamas, and fell into bed, tired from a day of hard work of planet patrolling. As soon as their heads hit their pillows, they were fast asleep. And when they each woke up the next morning, it felt like they had been asleep for days. Not wanting them to be late for school, they had been awoken by their parents calling their names. "Levi, Ivy! Levi, Ivy, wake up!" Levi and Ivy stretched and opened their eyes. Was it all a dream? They thought to themselves. Then they jumped out of bed, each very excited to see what the other had to say. "Ivy, did you have a crazy dream last night?" asked Levi. "You mean one about our neighborhood being full of litter and us cleaning it all up with Joseph, Ashley, Mom, Dad, and the whole neighborhood?" asked Ivy. "That's the one!" laughed Levi. "Was it really all a dream? It seemed so real." Then their eyes both got wide as they ran to Ivy's window. When they looked out, much to their delight, their neighborhood was clean and beautiful. Squirrels, chipmunks, and bunnies ran through the green grass on the front lawns, and neighbors took their morning walks enjoying the beauty of the nature world all around them. A world that Levi and Ivy promised each other they'd take care of from that moment on. Levi and Ivy ran downstairs full of energy and ready to talk to Joseph and Ashley as soon as they got to school that morning. But they didn't have to wait for school. As Levi and Ivy were finishing up their breakfast and telling their parents all about their amazing dream, they heard a knock at their front door. It was Joseph and Ashley standing on their porch with huge, excited smiles. "We had to run over here and ask you a question," said Joseph, barely able to control his excitement. Lucky for him, Levi and Ivy knew exactly why they were there. "Was it about a super amazing dream you had last night? One that you were wondering if we had too?" whispered Levi as he and Ivy smiled at their friends. "Yes, exactly!" exclaimed Ashley. "Planet Patrol cleaned up the whole neighborhood and you two said you'd never litter again." "We're so sorry we ever littered in the first place. Thinking it was no big deal," said Ivy. "We definitely will be signing up, officially, to Planet Patrol today. Levi and I are so excited to work with you both to keep our neighborhood and our planet clean." "We like what we hear," said Levi and Ivy's dad, who had been listening from the kitchen. "No more littering around here or anywhere else is a great promise to make," added Levi and Ivy's mom. The four friends then headed off to school, talking about all the other things they could do to help care for our planet. The rest of that week, they prepared for their school's Earth Day celebration. Ready to share with their friends Planet Patrol's list of things to do to help your community and the planet. Things like recycling cans, glass, and paper, not leaving the water running while brushing your teeth, turning off lights to save electricity when you're not using them, using reusable items as much as possible, riding bikes or walking places close by instead of taking a car, and volunteering to help with local cleanups. And on the day of the big Earth Day celebration, as Levi, Ivy, Joseph, and Ashley walked to school, they saw a candy bar wrapper tumbling by them on the sidewalk. Then, as if by magic, it was picked up by a gust of wind, swirled around in front of them, and dropped perfectly into a nearby trash can that sat at the entrance to the park. "Wow," said the four Planet Patrollers. Yes, it was just a coincidence, a 1 in a million scenario. But with help like that and the help of the Planet Patrol, Levi and Ivy knew they could make a difference. Because caring for the planet was a habit that Levi and Ivy were proud of. One they were happy to show off to others, and one that could really make a big difference in a wonderful way. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun Lively Lewis story with you.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.